Do you remember the first time you had to speak in front of people? I want you to think back. How did you feel while you were waiting in the wings, waiting for your name to be called? Were you nervous? Did you feel a bit lightheaded? Well, I can tell you, even this morning, I felt a bit nervous about speaking. But the amazing thing is that you did it. And you, by the looks of things, you all survived. The thing is, you've just got to try. Over the years, I've met a lot of people who wanted to write, but there was always something holding them back. They thought they had nothing to talk about. They were afraid of making mistakes, or they were just plain scared. So what were they afraid of? What are you afraid of? Judgment. The judgment of other people. Most of us fear other people's judgment, whether we're wearing a new outfit or giving a speech for the first time. And that is enough to stop you in your tracks. Just like public speaking, with writing, you've just got to get out there and take the first step. It gets easier all the time. So if you've ever wanted to write, I have 3 tips to help you get started. Number 1, remember that writing is a skill. It's something that needs to be practiced and developed. When I first started writing, I remember my first blog. It was awful. I looked back on it after a few years and I thought, I cannot believe I published that. But saying that, no one criticized it. And in fact, people made comments that was so helpful for them. And it made me realize that I had the ability to help people. Like I said, the more you do it, the better you'll get. And if you're wondering if you have topics to write about, just remember this. Last year, Karen Henderson gave a speech where she said, if you have these things, you have topics. Education, hobbies, interests, or experiences. So if you have those things, you have hundreds of topics to write about. Number 2, and this is probably, if you're going to take anything away from this speech today, this is probably the most important thing if you're just starting out writing. Don't compare yourself to others. All writers have their own style. They have their own interests, their own areas of expertise. Remember when you start writing that this is your journey, your personal journey, and this is your time to talk about what it is that interests you or what you can do to help other people. I have an important tip, and that's when you first start writing, to help you overcome the fear, just write for yourself. Start with the intention that you're not gonna show it to anyone, and that way you don't have the mindset that someone is gonna judge you. Oh, that is, of course, your pesky inner critic, which brings me to my 3rd and final point. Last year, I gave a speech talking about challenging your inner critic. We all have that negative voice who says things like, you're not good enough. You'll never be able to do this. Look at those other people. They're so much better. But I have a suggestion. By challenging that inner critic, take your inner critic and create an inner mentor and have those two have a conversation. So when your inner critic says things like, you're not good enough, the inner mentor can come along and say, but what if I am? I'm just going to try. Oh, you have nothing interesting to talk about. But what if I do? And what if I help people with my experiences? You'll never be able to succeed. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but at least I'm going to try. When you silence that inner critic, you're taking away its power. So So turn that inner critic into an inner mentor. So if you've ever wanted to write, but fear of judgment, fear of failure, or any fear is holding you back, I'd like you to remember those 3 tips. Number 1, remember, writing is a skill. Number 2, most important, don't compare yourself to others. That's the number 1 way to feel insecurity or fear. And number 3, turn that inner critic into an inner mentor. If you follow these rules and get started writing, you'll be able to live the dream that you've always wanted. Madam Evaluator, Mr. Evaluator?